things like, okay, which are very, very common in all the upcoming chapters. You talk about the accounting treatment of accumulated profits and reserves. Okay, accounting treatment of accumulated profits and reserves. Accumulated is a word which shows that these are the profits which have been accumulated by the partners earlier. Like since some years the partners have been into business, so out of the profits so earned, they have not been distributing the profits, the full profits, and out of the profits so earned, they have been retaining back some profit, and after that they have been distributing the remaining profit. Okay, so this we can say that it's kind of a retained earnings, the undistributed profits. Okay, so whatever the amount of undistributed profits or losses will be there, that belongs to the partners, okay, in their old ratio, correct? So over here again we have two different cases. We'll see that one by one. Even for theory also, you can see I'm sharing the screen by 2 pages on the screen. Like the reason is very clear. I just want you to differentiate the things very clearly. Okay. Now let us read this. If a firm has undistributed portion of profits and reserves at the time of reconstitution, it may be at the time of change in ratio, admission, retirement, death. All these are the reasons of the reconstitution, right? So if any undistributed profit is there, that has to be distributed amongst the partners. Okay, that can be adjusted in 2 ways. You can see that. Okay, that can be adjusted in 2 ways. Now, what are those 2 ways? Now, the 2 ways that we are going to learn over here, this is restricted to this chapter only. After this chapter, though, by default, we are going to distribute it amongst the partners, the old partners in their old ratio. Got it? Now, what are the 2 ways over here? One, the profits and reserves be cancelled. This is what we are going to follow in the chapter like admission, retirement, death, even dissolution also. Got it? Profits and reserves are by default to be cancelled, by default, if there is no other information. The second way of adjusting it is profits and reserves are not to be cancelled. Partners may decide that let us not close these accounts. Reconstruction is taking place, that's fine, but we may be in need of the reserves in future, so let us continue with the reserves. Now, if reserves are to be continued, but there is a reconstitution, change in ratio has took place, right? So because of that, what will happen? Some adjustment has to be done. We'll learn that today and we'll solve the sums also, right? The reserves and profits may be very handy, may be very useful to us in the future. So at that time, because of the reconstitution, change in ratio has took place. Accordingly, we need to make some adjustment entry for that. Again, I'm using the word adjustment entry. Adjustment entry will be partners to partners. Partners who gain will be debited and partners who sacrifice will be credited. Let us see this. When profits and reserves are cancelled, okay, in that case, the undistributed profits and reserves belong to the partners before the reconstitution of the firm. So these should be cancelled among the partners in their old profit sharing ratio, right? Amongst partners kaun se honge? Like the existing partners in their old profit and loss sharing ratio. Please remember this. And what are the reserves are there? We know like reserves or undistributed profits will have a credit balance. They need to be cancelled. They need to be closed. So that's why they will be debited. And partners capital account, you can see the entry. Profit and loss account credit balance can be there. Reserves can be there. Okay. So these are the 2 types of the reserves that are commonly available in the sums and are debited to close, and then partners capital can be seen as credited. Okay. In which ratio? I have marked with red over there. Please remember old ratio. Now why it is old ratio? Just because it belongs to the old partners in their old ratio only. If this was not retained back, if it was not the retained earnings, then it could have been distributed among the partners in their ratio itself. That's why this has to be shared always in the old ratio. Now, as like we have profits and profits, so we have losses also. Similarly, undistributed losses and deferred revenue expenditure, if exists before reconstitution of partnership firm, it should also be cancelled amongst the partners in their old profit sharing ratio. So any profits or losses appearing in the balance sheet before reconstitution, yes, this belongs to partners, old partners in their old ratio. Losses do have a debit balance. We need to close those accounts. So we'll have to credit that, and partners needs to be debit, right? So you can see that entry over here again, partner's capital or current account as the case may be, right? To profit and loss account debit balance or to any deferred revenue expenditure. Deferred revenue expenditure may be in the form of the advertisement suspense account, advertisement campaign account, or the word itself may be there, deferred revenue expenditure. Okay, these are all having the debit balance. So we need to close these accounts. So let us credit those accounts and debit partners capital or current as the case may be, right? So this is case one, wherein the partners have decided to close these accounts, right? Profits and reserves are to be cancelled or close these accounts. So in that case, by default, we distribute the amounts, undistributed profits, undistributed losses amongst the partners in their old ratio. Got it? So this is what we are going to follow actually for the chapter like admission, retirement, death, dissolution. In all the 4 chapters, by default, we have to close these accounts by default. And yaad ye rakhna hai ki this belongs to old partners in their old ratio, because these amounts do appear in the books of accounts before reconstitution. Okay, so new ratio, gaining ratio, sacrificing ratio का कोई importance नहीं है यहाँ पर. Let us move to the next part of the screen. Okay, so that is the right hand side where the profits and reserves are not to be cancelled. अगर profits and reserves को मुझे cancel नहीं करना है तो क्या करना है? So I need to have the adjustment entry. That is what I told you. Let us read this part again. If it is decided amongst the partners that profits and reserves would continue to appear in the books at the same figure depicted during the reconstitution, right? So in that case, an adjustment entry will be passed. Adjustment entry का मतलब मैं already बता चुका हूँ. That is gaining to sacrificing. Partners to partners, partners to gain will be debited and partners to sacrifice will be credited, right? Now, this is due to the fact that profits and reserves belong to the partners in their old ratio, but in future, they agreed to share the profits and losses in the new ratio. So the gaining partners must compensate the sacrificing partners. The reason why this adjustment entry has to be passed. Okay, the same reason is there. The gaining partner must compensate the sacrificing partner. Correct. That is the only and only reason, right? And in what ratio? We all know that the gaining share and sacrificing share, जैसे goodwill में किया था, the same thing is applicable over here. Okay, we have very good and interesting sums for this. What entries will be passed? We can see that for accumulated profits and reserves, okay, we have a credit balance. So gaining to sacrificing is the entry. Capital or current will depend. And if it is a loss, so reverse the entry, sacrificing to gain, capital or current, right? So these are the 2 ways in which the amounts of profits and reserves are adjusted, right? One is to be cancelled, one is not to be cancelled. The things are in front of you. Okay, the sums are very easy actually, on the condition that the concept is there in your mind. Let us start with the sums. It is about the accounting treatment of accumulated profits and reserves.
P, Q and R are partners in a firm sharing profits in the ratio 2:3:4. They later decided to share profits equally in future. On that date, they had rupees 13,500 in profit and loss account and 9,000 in reserve fund. Pass general entry in the following cases. First, they decide to close profit and loss account and reserve fund. Second, firm does not want to close these accounts of accumulated profits and reserves.
Okay, so both the cases are there with us. Okay, case 1 is very simple. Let us complete that part first of all, right? In case 1, we can see that the partners have decided to close the P&L account and the reserve fund. Okay, so in that case, we know we need to distribute the profits and the reserves in the old ratio. Now, a balance in profit and loss account, when it is nothing mentioned, we always have to assume that it's a credit balance. If it is a debit balance, they need to mention it. I repeat, for debit balance, they need to mention, right? P&L account has a debit balance. Okay, now we know that these are a credit balance. We need to close these accounts. So let us close these accounts by debiting it. Okay, the profit and loss account debit. Profit and loss account debit. Reserve fund account debit. To what? दो ही amount हैं, तो both amounts have been debited to partners' capital. Partners should get a credit of this. To P's capital, to Q's capital, okay, to R's capital. Okay, now let us check the balances. Profit and loss can be seen as 13,500. Reserve fund can be seen as 9,000. Okay, the total comes to 22,500. Now this 22,500, I want you to distribute in the ratio of 2:3:4. 22,500 divided by 9, right? So it's 2,500. So that will be 5,000. 2,500 and 10,000. So this is how the case 1 can be solved. Okay. The case is very clear. The partners have decided to close the two accounts, profit and loss and reserve. Credit balance है, close करना है, debit कर दिया, and once they are debited the reserves in the P&L account, the partners are to be credited, right? Second point. Second is partners have decided not to close these accounts. अगर close नहीं करना है, तो what is to be done? We need to go for the adjustment entry. For adjustment entry, again I need to have that sacrifice or gain. Let us calculate that. Okay, so the same thing like what we were doing for the goodwill also, right? Old ratio is equal to, there is 2:3:4. Okay, new ratio is equal, right? So 1:1:1. Fine. Sacrifice ka formula, sacrifice is old ratio minus new ratio, right? So let us do it for PQR. P is equal to, old share is 2/9 minus new share is 1/3. Okay, so that will be equal to, now LCM will be 9. Okay, let me write the LCM over there, 9. Okay, this will be 2 minus 3. Okay, now 2 minus 3 is minus 1/9. Okay, so minus 1/9 shows P has gain, right, of 1/9 share. For Q, same way, Q is, old share is 3/9 minus new share is 1/3. So 1/3, that will be 0. No change for Q. Okay, for R, अब पता है कि like अगर P ने gain किया तो R sacrifice करेगा, तो I'm not doing the calculation now. Okay, it is understood because there is no change for Q basically, right? P has gained and R has sacrificed. Okay, now entry to be written is adjustment entry. Adjustment entry में gaining to sacrificing. Entry for here like will be P's capital account will be debited. P's capital account debited to R's capital account, right? Again, the word like fixed and fluctuating will matter over here also. Okay. Now we need to calculate 1/9 share. 1/9 share of what? The total amount, the total of the reserves. 13,500 is for P&L, 9,000 is for reserve fund, so total is 22,500. So 22,500 ka 1/9 share. Okay, let us calculate over here. Share of P and R. Okay, that will be equal to 22,500. This is a total amount to be adjusted into 1/9. 1/9 is a share, so amount is 2,500. So in that amount will be 2,500. Correct. So that's all. A very simple sum to understand the concept. What if the accounts are closed and what if the accounts are not closed, right? Gaining to sacrificing. If the accounts are not closed, right? And if the accounts are closed, the very simple entry, the credit of the profits and the reserves has to go to partners in their old ratio. That's all. Let us read the question. ABC are partners sharing profits and losses in the ratio of 4:3:2, and they have decided to share the future profits in the ratio of 2:2:1. Okay, so old ratio is there, new ratio is there. मैंने बताया ना आप लोगों को, any chapter like admission, retirement, death, old and new ratio दिया तो sacrifice और gain तो बनता है, तो ये दिमाग में set कर लेना आप लोग भी, right? Okay. Point is now they decided to record the effect of the following without affecting their book values. Without affecting their book values का मतलब है they do not want to touch these values. They would like to continue with the same values, okay, in the future also. The question is very clear कि pass necessary adjustment entry. The same thing, like let us calculate the sacrifice and the gain. Old ratio is equal to 4:3:2, right? New ratio is equal to that is 2:1. Okay, sacrifice is equal to old minus new. Okay, so let us do it for ABC now. A old share is 4/9 minus new share is 2/5. Okay, so in this case now LCM will be 5 9 तो 45 ही आएगा LCM तो. Let us do the cross multiplication itself. 5 4s are 20 minus 9 2s are 18, right? So that is equal to 2/45. So basically A sacrifices. Now for B, okay, so that will be equal to 3/9 minus 2/5. Okay, so that will be equal to, again the LCM will be 45, and over here 5 3s are 15 minus 9 2s are 18, right? So 15 minus 18 is minus 3/45. Okay, so इसका minus 3 है, उसका वहाँ पे 2 है, तो C के लिए आंसर जो आएगा that will be 1/45, right? Because 3 partners are there. If one of the partner has gained share of 3/45 and A has sacrificed 2/45, so C will have to sacrifice 1/45 share. Now, what is the amount to be adjusted? Okay, तो मुझे वो भी calculate करना पड़ेगा. Let me write on the left hand side over here. Amount to be adjusted, right? Among the partners, amongst the partners, right? Okay, so we can see that we have profit and loss account. Okay, so 31,500 positive रहेगा, because as I told you, nothing is mentioned, so it is to be taken as a credit balance, a part of the profit itself. The second amount to be adjusted, we can see that is advertisement suspense account. Okay, that's a deferred revenue expenditure, that is a loss basically. I shall deduct it from here and get the net amount to be adjusted as 22,500. Okay, so this is very important point. Okay, easy and important, right? So 22,500 is a net amount to be adjusted among the partners. Now, let us calculate the share of A. Okay, so that is 22,500 into 2/45. Yes, 45 5s, that will be 1,000. Okay, share of B, sorry, that will be equal to 22,500 into 3/45. Okay, so that will be 1,500. And finally, share of C, 22,500 into 1/45. Okay, so that will be equal to 500 rupees. Okay, so we have calculated the old ratio. Old ratio, new ratio was there. We calculated the sacrifice and the gain. Based on that only, we need to calculate the amount to be adjusted, right? The total amount to be adjusted among the partners is 22,500. After that, whatever the share that the partner has gained or sacrificed, I have calculated the share accordingly, and these are the amounts that will have to be recorded in the entry. Partners who gain debit, partners who sacrifice credit. Okay, the partner who has gained over here is B, so I shall debit B's capital account over here, right? B's capital account will be debited, right, to A's capital account and to B's capital account. Okay, B and C, I'm sorry, C. B's capital account debited by rupees 1,500, A credit rupees 1,000, C credit rupees 500. So I think like I'm done with the sum.